All right, we're now beginning the third book of the Torah, the Book of Leviticus, and you'll notice once again we've changed the color scheme, this time to gold. This will be our theme color for the Book of Leviticus. I'm choosing gold because there was a lot of gold used within the tabernacle, which is now going to become the focus of the Book of Leviticus, so I think it's appropriate. So here goes. Leviticus, as we know, has 10 parshas. Now the first 2 parshas cover the offerings, the different types of sacrifices that were brought within the tabernacle. Now, the sacrifices are something which obviously we don't do today. It's something very far away from our way of life, so it's something that's hard to connect to and understand even why bringing an animal would accomplish something and why one would want to bring an animal and what they would feel walking away after bringing an animal. But let's start by saying that it was clearly something that in the ancient world people did, and they felt very fulfilled by it, and they understood the significance. You know, just to bring an example, I think this will work. You know, if we had an alien coming from a different planet, and they watched a man give a woman a little tiny rock that looked like a piece of glass, and she smiled and felt great all over, and forever throughout her years together with that man would always look at that in a special way, you know, they'd probably scratch their heads too, you know, wonder what exactly is going on here. What does that rock do that makes a woman feel so happy? And lots of other things, you know, that we do that looking from the outside would be perhaps strange. So clearly offerings is something which has a lot of meaning and something that we have to understand, and we're meant to understand because it's in the Torah. But let's start by focusing on the fact that these 2 parshas are going to give over in the Torah the basic mechanics on what's brought and how offerings are brought and why they're brought. Now, in terms of what are we dealing with in terms of the types of offerings, first let's just list what they are. In terms of animal offerings, we have bulls, rams, goats, and sheep. Then there are bird offerings. We have doves and turtle doves. And then we have grain offerings from wheat and barley. Now, typically someone who was poor, who couldn't afford either an offering from a bird or an animal, would bring from a grain, specifically wheat, but there are other offerings that were brought from barley. That's because they couldn't afford the more expensive type of offering. Now, the purpose of bringing the offerings were varied. One, most simply, would be to express gratitude. Something occurred in one's life. They either got better from an illness, or they traversed a very difficult situation, or they were let out of prison, and so on. So there was a chance to express one's gratitude by coming up to the tabernacle and bringing an offering to the Almighty. Then there was celebrating the holidays. In fact, in services on every Shabbat, on the Sabbath, there are 2 services in the morning. One's called the Musaf offering, which happens after the Torah reading. Well, that service, which is called Musaf, literally means the additional offering, because on Shabbat and the holidays, an additional offering was brought besides those that were brought every day. So that's to celebrate the holidays. And then sometimes it was to achieve atonement, meaning someone did something wrong. They transgressed one of the prohibitions of the Torah. And the way to correct that and get rid of the spiritual impact, which would be negative, of course, for transgressing, the offerings had this ability to do so. So those are the reasons why one would bring an offering to the tabernacle and eventually to the temple. Now, in these 2 parshas, which cover the basic mechanics, as I said, in Parsha 1, it's the people's relationship to bringing an offering. I mean, if you want to bring an offering, why would you bring it? How would you bring it? What would you bring? What exactly was done? In Parsha 2, it's the priest's relationship to the offering. The priests are the ones who actually brought the offering on behalf of the one who took it to the temple, or the tabernacle in this case, and they would get certain portions of the offering depending on its type, as a certain gift for doing the service on the offering. Now, it's important to realize we don't believe as Jews that the offerings, you know, do something for the Almighty, or He's missing it, and we're fulfilling a need on His behalf. Rather, it was a way for us to draw close to the Almighty by bringing the offering. In fact, the word in Hebrew for offering is carbon, and carbon literally means to draw near. So the idea of an offering is not to give up something or lose something, but it's actually, the impact is to bring you closer to the Almighty by stepping into His most sacred place on earth and bringing an animal that would reconnect you in a special way to Him but it's not that he's getting something or eating the offering, but rather we're able to achieve something spiritually by bringing the offerings. Now, offerings is going to be discussed throughout the Torah, but these are the two parshas that are going to focus on the basic details and procedure of bringing the offering. So we're going to stop here in this video, and then we're going to pick up talking about the priests in the next video here in Leviticus. All right, so let's just finish up with a little review here of the book of Leviticus, at least the beginning part of it. And here we go. Leviticus has 10 parshas. The first two parshas talk about the offerings. We spoke about the different types in terms of animals. There are bulls, rams, goats, and sheep. Birds, we had doves and turtle doves. And in terms of grains, we had wheat and barley. In terms of the purposes of bringing an offering, either to express gratitude, celebrate the holidays, or to achieve atonement. Parsha 1 deals with the people's relationship bringing the offering. Parsha 2 is the priest's relationship. Great, that's a review, and we'll pick up in the next video.